What's up guys, King Crisis here, welcome to the channel. If you guys are new to the channel, please like and subscribe. Now before we start this video guys, for the sake of the story, Naofumi in this timeline is going to be 24 years old. Naofumi is also going to be named Johnny Blaze in this timeline. And you guys already know when this is going. If you guys watched the original OG 2 Ghost Rider movies, everything that took place in those movies will take place for Naofumi this time around. This means right off the bat, Naofumi has Ghost Rider's entire backstory along with off-rip all of his powers. But of course, I'm gonna have Naofumi massively nerfed the minute he arrives in Miramar. So I think I said it right, Miramar, something like that. Naofumi's gonna be nerfed. Now once again, we have one more announcement. Black Clover what ifs are returning. As you guys can see, Shield Hero what ifs have been added onto the channel. That means that Black Clover what ifs are also being added to the channel. Like I said, some changes are in fact coming. So now I'm gonna have to do this. I'm gonna put up a poll, and it's in between Black Clover what ifs or Demon Slayer what ifs. Whichever poll wins, and I will give this poll a total of 2 weeks. I'm being serious. Actually, I'm gonna give it 2 days. The other poll, which was the poll I just, put up for the what ifs, I only gave it a day. But I mean, like, it got like over 80 something votes. So I felt like it was good enough. I know there's 4,000 of y'all, but like, usually that many people don't vote. So that says a lot. Usually only about 30 or 40 people would vote, and it literally doubled that number. So I went ahead on and just recorded the video instantly. With that being said, since this was the second most voted for video, this is the video that I'm going to in fact be recording. So because of that, let's start the video. So the story starts off around the same time period that did in the original anime, with Naofumi being inside of a library reading up on the 4 cardinal heroes. The cardinal heroes are the exact same as it was in the original timeline, that being the sword, the bow, the spear, and the shield. Naofumi still ends up arriving in the lands of Miramar. Now here's going to be a pretty significant thing that's going to happen. When Naofumi arrives in Miramar, Naofumi arrives with all of his items. Literally, like, his motorcycle is transported with him, but it doesn't appear in Miramar, but instead it is transported into his shield's inventory, along with the shotgun that Ghost Rider got in the first movie as well, in his chain. Now this is going to be very significant, but his chain is not going to be counted as a weapon, because chains technically, like, they can be used as weapons, but it technically isn't a weapon. Chains are used for, well, to hook things, so technically it isn't a weapon. Also, when he actually uses his Ghost Riders, like when he transforms fully, and this is only when he transforms fully into Ghost Rider and Zarathos takes complete control, his shield and his chains would merge, creating, well, Ghost Rider's very own cardinal weapon, which makes Ghost Rider no longer be Ghost Rider, but the chain hero. But he's still, for the sake of the story, going to be Ghost Rider and have all of Ghost Rider's powers, combining with all the powers that the shield hero has. The only difference is utilized through that of the chain, and he's able to actually use his powers offensively. This means that Naofumi during the daytime will still have to fight as regular Naofumi, but once the waves take over and once things get bad enough, Ghost Rider's power would come out. Naofumi's also going to have an affinity for fire magic. So fire magic, bone magic, and metal magic is going to be Naofumi's affinities, along with the basic magics that the shield hero has. So defensive magic, healing, and all that blah 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 shield hero crap. So all the stuff that Naofumi had in the original timeline for his magical affinities, he will still have. Things go up to canon, okay? Things will actually play out as they did in canon, because for some reason Naofumi had a really bad feeling, and it wasn't really for some reason. Naofumi is, Ghost Rider. He can sense the guilty, and he felt automatically that these people could not be trusted. Since he can literally sense the guilty, more than likely he would not trust the king. So since he can sense the guilty, yeah, he didn't trust him off rip. This means that when, no lie, I forgot his name, but we're just gonna call him King Miramar. So when King Miramar just, completely ignored Naofumi when he tried to introduce himself, this version of Naofumi doesn't speak up and say, yo, King, he simply lets it play out. So Naofumi eventually does end up introducing himself. He explains, my name is Johnny Blaze. He explains that he's 24 years old and he is a former bike racer. This now confused the king, because he's like, the hell is a bike? But it's whatever from here. Once the king and the others end up making it on over towards the hotel room, I said the king. I don't know why I said the king. My bad, y'all. But once they make it towards the hotel room, like normal, they will have the same exact conversation where they explain how each of them come from different worlds. Explain how it has a video game-like system. Now Fumi then asks what they know. They didn't explain a good majority of it, but now Fumi begins to look into more on it. He then pulled up his stab menu, where there he's seen his health bar. So, now Fumi has 3 meters, and he asks do they have 3 meters. They look at him confused and says they have 2. But they said that Naofumi might just have extra shield. And Naofumi looks at him and he says, nope, it's Hellfire. This causes Ren and Isaki to look at each other confused. Muratu's like, the fuck are you talking about? He says that his 3rd meter is Hellfire. He says the 1st meter is health, the 2nd meter is shield, and the 3rd one says Hellfire. Why do you have a Hellfire meter? All the other heroes would wonder. But Motoyasu would chop it down to the fact that Naofumi is simply lying in order to try to make himself look cooler. And that's literally like what he says, point and blank. Just out loud, just dead serious. Immediately, no hesitation, he says it exactly how it is. And for obvious reasons, Naofumi ignores them. Because firstly, he has a literal spirit inside of him from hell. So he doesn't really have to explain any further into that. So, time skip. With this now happening, everything will play out as it did in the original timeline. The only difference is Naofumi is about 10 times more conscious around Princess Mai because he can sense her evil intent. He can really sense it much better. So this time around when Naofumi ends up going into his hotel room and discovering that he can like put things inside of his shield, he put all of his money in there. He didn't only do that, he also put his armor and everything he got inside of his shield. Because Naofumi just had a really bad feeling about her. And after this happened, when Princess Mai tries to basically frame Naofumi, and he ends up meeting the king, things go a bit differently here. Naofumi literally looks at him and says, I didn't think I'd have to do this. Naofumi looks upwards with his eyes turning pure orange. And fire would just explode off of Naofumi, and it throws the guards that are trying to block Naofumi back. Naofumi lets off just an emissive magical pressure that basically starts literally burning everyone in the room. Now, it isn't an intense heat, it isn't anything crazy, but it is noticeable. Of course, it isn't anything crazy to like the heroes and to like maybe some of the knights, but to the king, because we all know he's a bitch, so it's pretty crazy. He's hurting a lot. And Naofumi tells them, points one finger. If anyone else in here ever tries him for any reasons, they will face judgment and he will burn this kingdom to the ground. As Naofumi from here would leave. Once Naofumi leaves, his training would commence. Naofumi still ends up going off towards Earhart. You see, the difference is though, Naofumi still has his armor that he got in the original timeline, which means he does rock that armor for a little while longer while Earhart is making the cannon suit that Naofumi has. Doesn't matter because Naofumi during his time frame would fight against a bunch of balloons as he did in the original timeline. But since Naofumi now has access to fire magic, he's able to use something that he called the Hell Burst, which is the move that he did against the guards, where he creates an aura around him that burns his enemies pretty badly actually. Naofumi begins to pretty much abuse it until eventually he starts gaining enough shields, racks up enough points, and he realizes his Hellfire meter is slowly growing the more and more XP he gets. Eventually Naofumi gets down to a lot of XP, where from there he realized something very important. He can still use his chains. So Naofumi actually begins to abuse the hell out of it. Using his chains, he begins to use them as if they are whips and weapons, the same exact way Ghost Rider uses his chains, as a whip that rips through his opponents. Him using his chain over and over and over again, the system isn't even stopping him from doing so because certain things just aren't weapons, they're tools. And since this is technically a tool, Naofumi can do whatever it is he wants with it. And he does so. Abusing his chain, and that's what the system can do. Naofumi racks up points, racks up XP like crazy. And Naofumi learns something, that if he slays a human that's guilty, or if for any reason Zartros just so happens to influence his mind strong enough, and he take out someone that's guilty, he gets quadruple the XP from it. So he begins to do is, he literally becomes a mercenary upwards into the time period where he meets those people in a bar in the original anime. With Naofumi meeting them as he did in the original timeline, he still ends up going outside with them. And here's where things go bad for them. As soon as he gets outside, Naofumi would immediately lift up and immediately create that shield bash. Using shield bash, he would immediately hit one of them. They're thrown backwards, or from there, Naofumi will send off his chains and wrap them up. Naofumi then will say, "Not only are you guys known around here for being bandits, you guys got quite the price on your head. I've been framed for rape, you already know of this." Naofumi looks at them with a dark look. "But I don't care about the money. I don't care about that. The XP and power that comes with killing the guilty, it's far more worth it." As Naofumi tears them in half and burns them to smother. From there, the slave trader sees what happens, and then he convinces Naofumi to come with them, as he did in the original timeline. Naofumi ends up going off with the slave trader as he would have. The difference is, though, once Naofumi sees what happened, he basically asks for a demonstration, and the slave trader will show him. Once Naofumi realizes what he's done, Naofumi would look at him and grab him by the throat. "Free every slave here, or I'll kill you right now." The slave trader says, "What?" Naofumi says, "You heard what I told the man. If I kill the guilty, I get double the XP. Well, triple the XP. So it's best that you simply go ahead on and free every slave here, or I'll kill you right now. Or maybe I can assign every slave to you." Naofumi will say, "Nah, so here's the thing. There are a lot of high-level monsters in here, and I'm gonna kill them for the XP. But for those who are conscious and have minds of their own, you're gonna free them. Right here, right now." The slave trader says, "No, Naofumi then activates his penance stare, and literally, he instantly kills the slave trader on the spot. The slave trader will fall to the ground dead. Once he falls to the ground dead, Naofumi then would turn and look forward. Well, from there, he would literally burn all the locks on every cage aside from ones that have just straight monsters in it. If it's a straight up monster, Naofumi leaves it in its cage. But the things that aren't monsters, such as Raphtalia and any other demi-human, he set them free. And most of the demi-humans actually ran as fast as they could. But for Raphtalia, who's number one, sick, but number two, too scared to move. Naofumi would approach her and make sure that she was okay. Once he's certain that she's okay, he ends up taking her with him, leaving the monsters inside the cages in order to rot and get weak so that Naofumi could kill them and still get all the XP from it, because the system is just goated like that. So after he done so, he did exactly what I just said. He left with her. And once he returned, he killed every single monster there. And he got so much XP from this that Naofumi actually ends up reaching level, level 50. Naofumi left all the powerful monsters in their cages. And when he killed the slave trader guys, their slave crests were gone. But the monsters still couldn't escape because they're inside of cages. They already had slave crests on them. And they were already pretty bad. So after doing this, Naofumi reached level 50. Which I'm pretty sure was the level cap. And Naofumi is literally 30 levels above every other hero. If not 25 levels above every other hero. And mind you, Raphtalia has already become a member of Naofumi's party. Naofumi figured that out immediately and added her the second that she started going with him. Naofumi also returned after he gave Raphtalia the potions and made sure she was okay. Which means that Raphtalia is I'm gonna say level 35. Which, of course, is below Naofumi. I think 15 levels or so. Yeah, 15 levels below Naofumi. But don't think it's anything crazy because Raphtalia is currently stronger than Rin, Isaki, and Motoyasu. Already stronger than them, as if it's nothing. So she could defeat 2 of the heroes by herself. All 3 of them probably not. But 2 of them, that could be the spear and the bow, or the bow and the sword, or the sword and the spear, it doesn't matter. She could defeat them. She still has an affinity for light magic, but she's also going to have an affinity for hellfire, which comes with the minute you're added to Naofumi's party, you gain hellfire. Which she ended up gaining on top of that. I think her darkness magic, which she already had, double it. Once this happens, Naofumi and Raphtalia ends up arriving at the Dragon Hourglass. Where from there, they's encountered by Ren, Motoyasu, and Itsuki. Things from here will actually play out as they did in the original timeline, with Naofumi straight up hating their presence and just waiting for the wave to start. The wave will start, and they still end up going towards the village, which I think was called. That's not what it's called. I don't remember the name of the village, but they still end up going off towards the village in the original timeline. Where from there, Naofumi and Raphtalia will fight against a bunch of zombies. Naofumi will use his shield badge and create his, his shield and shield prisoner to protect them over and over and over again, and he's doing very well doing so. It isn't that much difficulty that Naofumi's having. Naofumi also coats his shield badge with fire, which he uses it in order to actually burn his enemies, so if they hit it, they're hit by a blast of hellfire and incinerated. Naofumi from here begins to actually just terrorize them, burning and destroying his enemies using his hellfire magic, which Naofumi creates barriers of hellfire, and he starts placing these barriers of hellfire around rocks, items, and just certain things that just shouldn't have them placed on there, and since they're all stupid zombies, they're getting burnt to smither. Naofumi from here then will pull out his chain and begins to tear the zombies apart. With this, the knights still end up attacking like they did in the original timeline, which leads to Naofumi pretty much saving the village as he did in the original timeline. With Naofumi still stepping forward and saving them, obvious reasons, Naofumi is visibly annoyed because what the fuck is their problem? And Naofumi doesn't hesitate to say this out loud that they could have gotten everyone here killed. But it didn't matter because they began to talk crazy to Naofumi, and Naofumi begins to get aggravated, very aggravated. Well, from here we would now time skip. In case you guys are wondering, things with Raphtalia and the dog went up to canon. By the way, guys, I'm gonna end this off after the Motoyasu and Naofumi fight because I, to be honest, don't know what the hell happens after that. Like, I know the race, and after the race, I'm no longer certain of the order of the events, which is why I'm probably gonna have to rewatch the actual anime for once. But I don't want to do that, and I'm probably not gonna do that, to be honest. But yeah. Anyways, Naofumi ends up basically telling the knights about themselves. With this, the heroes end up taking down the boss. Once the boss is taken down, Naofumi them ends up going to the ball because Raphtalia convinced him to go. Naofumi himself truly did not want to go, but at the ball, Motoyasu walked up to Naofumi and hit him with his glove. "You bastard!" "No way! Sure, Spear Hero just challenged the Shield Hero." That is like corny as fuck. Why the hell did I say it like that? I mean, that's pretty much how the people said it, but like, it still was kind of corny. I don't know why the fuck I did that. But pretty much everybody's shocked that Naofumi just got challenged by Motoyasu. And Naofumi looks at him with just an annoyed facial expression. "The hell was that for?" he would say, just plain and simply, just like that. He tells him, "Because of the slave girl that you have there." Naofumi looks at him and says, "Have you not noticed my level? I'm literally 30 levels above you." And Motoyasu just blankly tells him that he doesn't care, and it most definitely doesn't matter. I don't think about it. I think Motoyasu was like level 40 something. If they were like level 40 something, guys, and we're gonna keep it to where Naofumi's above them, so just know if they were like level 40 something, and I'm pretty sure the cap was 50 or 60, so if they're in the level 40s, Naofumi's simply gonna be level 60. Okay, but if they wasn't, just know that no matter how it is, no matter what their canon levels was, Naofumi's gonna be above them by 30 levels. Of course, unless it's the seal, and if they're close to the seal, then however many levels it is into the seal, he's gonna be above them by that many. But Naofumi just looks at them so blankly, and he lets them talk to him crazy. He just doesn't care anymore. Naofumi literally tells him, "Fuck it, why not?" So they end up walking into the ring. And they get into the ring, Naofumi ends up fighting against Motoyasu. And to be honest, Naofumi's only using his shield and shield presence. And it's playing out similarly to the original anime, with Naofumi absolutely dominating Motoyasu upwards into eventually Motoyasu starts fighting a bit more rugged and crazy against him. Because this version of Naofumi is already a massively higher level, so he's just beating the shit out of Motoyasu. Until eventually, though, Motoyasu flashes out and hits Naofumi successfully with a very powerful meteor spear, which, sadly enough for Motoyasu, actually harms Naofumi. It's nighttime, Naofumi's harmed, Motoyasu's an ignorant bastard, and Naofumi is surrounded by guilty people. Y'all already know what's happening. It's an entire kingdom surrounded by the guilty, surrounded by guilty of hatred, mistreatment, and torture towards heroes. Because as y'all know, the kingdom sees the shield hero as the demon, for literally no fucking reason so far. That means Ghost Rider takes over immediately. And once Ghost Rider takes over, it's done for. Naofumi instantly stands upwards. His entire clothing would change. Appearing on his side would be Ghost Rider's shotgun that he had in the movie. Wrapped around him would be the chain, and in the center of it would be a circle. Obviously, that being the weird orb thingy-majig inside of all cardinal weapons, as in it would disappear, vanishing. Naofumi then has spiked chains. His skull is shown to be in a blaze. What the fuck? Motoyasu would say, absolutely terrified. Naofumi shoots his chains forward as they wrap around him. He snatches Motoyasu forward and immediately lands a brutal punch onto his face and sends him flying. As Motoyasu is sent flying, Naofumi begins to hit him over and over and over again, whipping him with his chain. He snatches Motoyasu forward and immediately starts pummeling him into the ground, beating Motoyasu profusely. He grabs him by the throat as he lifts him up into the air and looks into his eyes. He says, I could destroy your soul right here, right now. Now, Fumi's voice seems to be distorted. It seems to be terrifying to the eyes of the public. Well, from there, Ghost Rider begins to wrap the chain around his fist, and he starts punching Motoyasu in the face repeatedly. Ren, Isiki, Mai, the king, and all the people watching this, they're absolutely terrified. The crowd begins to scream demon of the shield, but now Fumi would wrap his chain around the throat of the king. Everyone witnesses as Naofumi drags him to him. And Naofumi looks at him and he says, guilty. And as he says this, he begins to bound the king. Tells him the truth. Now! The king doesn't speak. He only shakes and just starts shaking more and more and more. Like he's crying. Tells him the truth. Naofumi would say, or you will be burned. Naofumi says it. Alright, you don't want to say it? Naofumi begins to literally tell him, look into my eye. And the king begins to scream, it was a lie! It was all a lie! The crowd hears the king as he says this. The Pope watching on will shake his head in disgust. Well, from here, here's where we end up this part. Yes, guys, pretty much right early on from the story, Naofumi cleared the whole rape rumors. But I'm gonna let you guys know this. If this video gets a part 2, which is entirely up to y'all, also entirely up to whether or not I actually rewatch the show, but gotta pay my Netflix because Shield Hero's on Netflix now, so I kind of have to pay Netflix now. And Cobra Kai season 2 is coming out, so I'm gonna pay it either way it go. But yeah, I now I kind of have to. So yeah, for the sake of time though, I am in fact gonna be uploading another movie. The movie is entirely up to y'all. I'm telling y'all, it's up to y'all. So be prepared for what's coming. Dun 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 dun.